What would happen if you invited a group of people affected by HIV/AIDS to dinner? What would they look like? And what would they talk about? Tonight we invite you into a hidden and surprising world.
I'm here tonight because I believe we cannot live with HIV/AIDS in secret. I believe if we live with HIV/AIDS in secret, the secrets will kill us.
We invited 10 very different people to share their experiences over a meal. Most of them are HIV positive.
I'm originally from Melbourne. I now live in Cairns. I've known that I've been positive for about a year and a half now.
My name's Paul. I was diagnosed HIV positive 5th of September 1990 at 12 noon.
How far have we come in our attitudes towards people with HIV and AIDS?
Did you say that you were told you had a gay disease?
Yes.
The people you're about to meet come from across Australia. They could be your neighbours. Most of the guests have never met, and to be here tonight was one of the hardest decisions they've ever made.
When I was diagnosed HIV in Cairns, I was given a leaflet printed in 1984, and it told me to keep away from calves and cats.
This is their way of showing that the HIV experience is more about living than dying.
It's very important to me to show that this is the face of AIDS. This is what AIDS looks like. It doesn't look like a skeleton. It doesn't look unwell. So therefore it can be the person that's sitting beside you or anybody. It doesn't have a tag straight across its face.
People have thought that it's simply a gay virus, and all of a sudden women were coming up with it, and a few of us, some of us for quite a long time, have decided to come out publicly and say, well, it affects everyone from all walks of life.
My name's Ian. I'm 38 years old. I am a haemophiliac who contracted HIV 12 years ago. That's in 1981. And I have just recently, 6 weeks ago, I got married.
You're one of these very rare breeds of heterosexual males with HIV.
Yeah. That's correct.
You're like the dodo bird. You're so rare.
I'm a minority amongst minorities.
You are, exactly. I mean...
Yes. I don't mind that. I've been a minority all my life.
I'm quite used to it. We positive women have been a minority within a minority for a long time.
I empathise very much with it.
In fact, you're only the second heterosexual male I've met with HIV. And thank you for coming out.
It's a small world, no problem.
Good.
I got it in a country town. I didn't do drugs. I was married, right? And I got it through sex. There's a hell of a lot of other people.
Yes,
you know,
how many
country
people in that
towns, like
community
everyone
are positive?
sleeps with everyone, and everyone only thinks that puffs get AIDS. That's what they think. They think puffs get AIDS.
No, they won't. They
sorry,
won't.
but sorry, but that's what country people think.
Oh,
You know,
what city
especially
people
young
think.
people. We think I'm immortal. I'm never going to die. You know, it's bad enough we used to run around in really hotted up V8 cars. You know, have drags. You know, we're not going to
You can't
die.
become HIV in V8 cars.
No. And you're
drag
just not
race. Definitely not in the back
You're going
seat.
to get 70, then you're going to die. No one uses condoms. And my opinion is, if I got HIV in that town, in a few years from now, when everyone else starts getting sick, it's going to be that many of them. You know, and it's going to affect the whole joint. My life consisted of housework days of our lives and barbecues and family gatherings. It was a very normal, very straight lifestyle that we had. It was unbelievable that it could touch my life, or our life, you know. It was really, really improbable. It just shows it can happen to anyone. I haven't known, I've been HIV positive for long, and I get on a lot of downers about it. I haven't been to support groups yet.
Yeah.
You know, I've only knew since late last year, but we've worked it out. I've had it since I was 18. Well, actually 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, but I don't know the date and time. But it gets me down still sometimes. Like, I'm young, and I want, there's so much in me I want to do. And I just spin out.
I think you can achieve it.
Yeah, don't ever think you can't. I'm old because I've put off so much. There's a hell of a lot I want to do.
Yeah, like this is the first time in my life I've sat down with other HIV-positive people. You know, because coming from the country, I feel so happy, you know. I can't describe. I'm not the only one anymore. I don't feel isolated anymore.
I've allocated 15 years so far. I cannot die for 15 years.
No, well, I've put off having finishing a uni
for
degree for years, and now I'm back there doing it.
I hear all you
I was
guys,
sick of putting it off.
I hear people get it for 5 years and they die, and you said you've had it 12 years?
Yes.
There's
I'm just
long-term
amazed.
survivors.
And the other point too is to come back to, and it should be repeated, is that you need a reason to live.
I think the thing with me too that I've found that passion is so important in
Whatever it is you do.
for whatever it is, whether it's work or whether it's recreation.
Yeah.
But about 12 months ago decided that this is it, my life's over, I'm on the pension and that's it, you know, dig the hole and, you know, go. And I realised sort of 3 months down the track, I thought, well, I'm not dead yet, this is a really boring life, I've got to do something.
You still look good in a suit. You've got to get out there and do stuff.
And I thought, well, it's time to pick up the pieces and I'm a dancer. And I thought that's what I need to do. I need to get back on stage. I need to do what I love doing, what I've always done all my life. And my life has changed so dramatically.
Stop the children of Israel. Syrian, we are the next in line. Nephilim, Issachar, Asher, Dan, Zebulun, and Gad. The total to 9. Jacob, Jacob and sons. Jacob, Jacob and sons. Jacob, 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 Jacob and sons.
I can only say that being positive has enhanced my life so much in areas I never thought it would. I've always been a minority group. I was a dancer in a country school, which is not everybody's a dancer.
Male dancer.
A male dancer. And at that stage when I was young, that was automatically assumed that you're a dancer, you're also a homosexual.
Did you get beat up at school?
Constantly, yes. That's where I learnt to build my brick wall. My brick wall came from those kids at school because I could just block a block. And I used to never show any emotion whatsoever. They could hit me and I would never let anything out because you cannot hurt me. I always remember being very much a loner, very isolated type of person. I was my own worst enemy. I kept to myself. When I was first diagnosed, my immediate thoughts were for my family, the people I'd let down, the people I'd disappointed in my life. And that's the way I viewed it. I viewed it as a tragedy that other people would suffer, not me.
But nobody knows what it's like living with HIV until one day the test comes through positive. And then it's a different ball game.
I work for the Victorian AIDS Council in a voluntary capacity as a carer. I can't relate to what you're feeling exactly. I can empathise and sympathise with what you're feeling. But I really can't relate to what it feels like to be told that you're HIV positive. I really can't relate to the fact that maybe you have a death sentence over your head, maybe you don't. It depends on which way you approach it.
Accepting an invitation to dinner is normally a pleasure and a delight. And the question I asked myself was, why is it a big decision? I have a sister who's HIV positive. Now I can remember when Helen told me, I cried. Now I don't know why I got so upset when Helen told me. For some reason I was into this same mould of thinking that everyone else was in, that this is different, this is a special virus. And it's sad when someone has it. Now, it's still sad, but I've accepted it and Helen's accepted it. I guess the sadness, to put my finger on why I was sad, was because Helen was upset. She hadn't accepted that she had a virus like she has now.
During that time, that year, I'd made my parents and Graham aware that I was HIV positive and that I was also trying to deal with a lot of other issues and that I simply didn't think I could do that in Sydney anymore. And I asked if it was okay to come home. And they responded really well and said, yeah, come home. My childhood, I remember it as being a really safe era. It wasn't necessary to lock homes or keep an eye on your children after school. And I had a very special brother. I remember being absolutely obsessed with the Beatles and boys. Fortunately, my parents chose to send me to a private school. It was a Catholic school. I now ponder on the skills that they gave me as far as negotiating life and communicating with people and forming relationships. I think the years I spent in Sydney were the highlight of my life. I don't have any regrets from those years, even though it was during that time I did contract the HIV virus. We're all very aware of it. And for those that were into that party scene, were taking precautions. But occasionally, because of the pace we were travelling at, the precautions weren't enough, and a few of us did get caught.
There's no excuse for ignorance anymore, and I really strongly believe that there's just not. And as far as it's in our society, they've got to accept it, because the heterosexual community is getting hit, and it will get hit. Because people refuse to believe it will.
Being a registered nurse with HIV, I find that my peers sort of look at my lifestyle and see it not really that far removed from their own. And there, but for the grace of God, through my own sort of youth, I've managed to become infected with HIV, and I think it's a very valuable learning tool to actually accept what you've done in the past and accept your lifestyle and to feel fairly comfortable about it. And it's something that can be fairly beneficial to other people. We're too much into sort of keeping things under wraps because of what other people will say or whether they won't talk to us. I really don't want to talk to people like that.
Do you feel that maybe having worked in a paramedical situation that you were less likely to encounter discrimination?
No, it's rampant. It's probably more rampant amongst the medical community than it is amongst the general community because you're not expected to get HIV. It's not the
medical
thing.
community is extremely
That's interesting because
conservative.
I've experienced in hospital discrimination, such as the people delivering food to your room don't want to come into the room and things like that. But I never found open discrimination by nursing staff.
The reason you've probably encountered less discrimination is because of your source of transmission. It's socially acceptable.
Yes. Well, that's one of the reasons I'm here. Hopefully, I explain that it doesn't make much. It really doesn't make much difference.
At the bottom line,
we know that. We've come to
how I
terms
got
with
it,
that.
and in another 10 years that won't matter because probably everybody with medical HIV could acquire HIV will be dead if they haven't found something that will prolong their lives. I was told that I was HIV positive in the middle of 1984. They've been able to trace back to when I got it, who the donor was and how many other haemophiliacs were affected. And once I knew I'd caught it in 81, I thought, oh, well, I've probably got 3 or 4 years, and I just kept doing what I was doing. I worked in my job. I didn't leave my job. I saw no reason to at the time. I was fit and healthy still.
Contracted HIV through sex. I'd been with my partner for a long time. He was bisexual. I didn't know that. But even if I had, it wouldn't have made any difference. I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, we didn't, like, in those days this was 1982, I contracted this virus. We didn't know anything about it. As I said, safe sex was something, if you were safe, then you were on the pill. It was as simple as that.
I thought I'm a educated person. I wasn't promiscuous. I was unlucky. But that unluck can be anybody, and that's one of the things I'm here for, to show that you don't have to be the stereotype to get AIDS.
I'm just so self-destructive at the moment, and being here tonight is giving me a little bit of sanity back. And
Were you self-destructive before your diagnosis, or is it escalated?
It's escalated. It's got worse and worse.
Right.
And I am getting worse. I can't go out and hit anyone. You know, that's how I feel. I feel like going and getting someone and choking them. I'm so frustrated.
Paul's handy.
I'm just so angry, and I can't keep walking around like this because I'm going to go insane. Sometimes I think I am. I don't know.
It helps if you are a bit.
Does it?
Well, you're obviously a much stronger person than you think because you're sitting at this table.
I have not lived my life yet. I have not done half the things you people have done.
Yeah, I fought so hard not to be an adult because I wanted my childhood back. But
Now I'm
I am an
going for that
adult now, and
I don't want to be grown up anymore. I
still want my Lego blocks
freaking out, and I want to be a kid again. I never really took much notice of this disease because back in the country, as I've said before, we had the view that only people got it that were gay or drug users, and you couldn't get it through sex. And no one really believes in a condom back home unless it's for birth control. And no, we didn't really hear much about it at all. And what we did, we just made up silly jokes about, gay people and, just typical rednecked views, I think. I left my old hometown because the word did get around. There was gossip, there was rumours, and it's very hard to walk along the street and hold your head high when people look down upon you.
It's fairly hard for Nicky to stand up, one against 8,000, a 21-year-old person, to stand up and say, no, you're all wrong, I'm right.
4,000.
No, but that's the one thing she shouldn't do. She shouldn't say they're all wrong. No, they're not. That's their way of life.
But their attitude's
But you're asking
wrong.
her to accept a way of life that doesn't allow her to live in her hometown.
I want to be with my family, I want to be with
You
my
know, you're
friends,
asking
and
her to
I
make
can't.
compromises
I
to
say
people
to
that
my
don't make
friends, yes, I'm
compromises to
healthy,
her.
yes,
That's
I've got
not
cancer,
right.
I'm lying to
But
my
that's
friends. I can't live like that.
You can't have one rule for one group of people and one rule for the other. We all accept each
No,
other.
that's why I don't have rules. I don't have your wrong or right or your judgments. I live.
Do you experience discrimination?
No, I don't.
Neither do I.
And only because I don't
Neither do
allow
I.
it. And
Not
I stand
anymore.
up and I go, this is me, this is what you see.
This is what you get.
I think you become HIV positive and you wake up in the morning and you are something less.
Less than what?
Well, you're less than perfect.
Why?
Everybody's less than perfect, but you're even less than less
Why are
perfect.
you?
Why? It's not.
Why are you?
Why are you?
Well, the realities are that at this stage...
Society makes you feel less, but we're not.
Okay, people might make
less.
you want to feel less. Obviously, I don't feel less. Most of us here obviously
I
don't.
don't believe anybody
Yes.
should make me feel anything.
Most of us
I
here
don't
don't
want to
feel less. Sorry?
Well, you said you feel less. You
Yeah,
wake up in the
I'm
morning, you
not-
feel
I don't believe. I don't believe anybody can wake up and say,
feel
"Gee, I'm glad I'm HIV positive."
No, I don't either, but I don't feel
I have.
I have.
There's anybody
I
that
hate
can wake
it, but
up
sometimes
and
I do.
say not less because you HIV, and I don't believe that one person out there can say to me that I am anything less than what God made me, which is perfect.
No, I agree with you. I think that people are born with their full abilities. They have everything there.
I don't
And the
think
only
HIV
thing,
takes
the
away
only
from
thing
that.
that can happen is then that people chip away. They knock bits off people. It was difficult because there were pressures on my parents to cotton wool me, and there was obviously a deep desire within them to try and have things as normal as possible for me. So I guess I had to be a little bit better with my studies or things to try and just be normal. As I was getting into my late teens, and I was 18, I realised that I was slowly, my number of activities was slowly going down. So I was looking around for other things to do, and I decided sitting down and playing drums would be quite easy for a haemophiliac. One of the things I used to do then, I suppose I was 20, I punched my nose behind stage and it'd make it bleed, so that when I went out on stage I'd shake my head around and blood would fly everywhere. And the scout dancers, they loved that. I don't know why. But obviously that became too much physical and I was having problems, so I gave that away. I went travelling, and while I was travelling I bought the guitar and started playing, and when I came back to Australia I decided that I'd give it a go.
I wish that HIV hadn't come into my life because I was quite happy going along in my own world and along my own life. HIV came into my life because of my friends, and it came into my life because of my work. I couldn't stand to see the injustices done to my friends. I couldn't stand to see the injustices done to my patients by my peers. That's why I'm involved in HIV. The irony of me turning out to be HIV infected has not been lost on quite a few people, myself included. Chris and I met probably over about a year ago. We were both working together in the same area of HIV up in Cairns. It's good that Chris is a healthcare worker as well. In some ways it's made it easy. I mean, we were able to work out safe sex pretty quickly. My HIV is there, but it's not what our relationship revolves around. So we try not to focus on it too much.
As far as the myth that no one will love you or want to become physical with you once you have HIV, it is just that, it's a myth. After diagnosis, I've been really lucky to have been close to two partners, and they both were fully aware of my status. It's just a matter of being educated about transmission risks and using condoms, etc., and making sure it doesn't happen.
I don't have a partner. However, I think one of the reasons HIV is around is because a lot of us have distorted what love is. Love is not sex. Love comes from within, and it's something that is given to you and you can give back to other people. It doesn't have to be a physical contact with someone. And a lot of people are confused that to be loved you have to have an orgasm or you have to be touched. And I've found a great deal of love from people around me, which has in a lot of ways replaced a lot of sex for me. And it's become real.
It's been a real bonus for me to actually have another child. After being told that I couldn't have any more children anyway, and then finding out I was positive, and then all of a sudden I'm pregnant and got this 6-week-old beautiful baby. It looks like she's negative, and I'm really praying she is, and I feel that she is. But when she was born, it was I burst into tears, and so did my partner, because I thought, God, what have I done? And then we looked at her and thought, we haven't done anything. She's beautiful. What's the matter? Here, we'll play puppets. You want to play puppets? When I got pregnant, it was an accident. It was a really something that Stephen and I really had to sit down and talk about. It wasn't just, great, I'm pregnant, let's go ahead with this pregnancy. HIV takes that excitement away. We were happy, but we knew we had a few hard decisions to think about. So it was, we talked about it, and we decided, because Stephen is negative, that he could bring her up. The other factor on that is I don't believe I'm going to die in a hurry. I certainly intend to see her get quite a bit older. When I got pregnant, I had a few people say a few things. No, you don't get pregnant through safe sex, but you can. I mean, condoms break. There's artificial insemination. I probably don't discuss how I got pregnant. Yeah.
I've got a son now, he's okay, thank God. But I remember after I found out I was HIV positive, getting him tested, I just couldn't deal with it if there was something wrong with my son. You know, I couldn't. It's just, I love him more than anything in the world, life itself. And that risk that, you know, it's bad enough I'm going to leave him one day maybe. You know, I couldn't go through what you went through.
Is anyone else here lucky enough to have really good family support?
Yes.
All my family, when I decided to stop being dysfunctional, I rang them and told them the situation. And they educated themselves on how to contract the virus and how not to. And when I arrived in Queensland, they all gave me a huge hug and set about supporting me. It's just been absolutely wonderful. Remaining silent about something as large as being HIV positive was just becoming too difficult for me. And I did underestimate my family and friends severely by not sharing that with them a lot sooner. But my rewards are in doing stuff like this, in actually getting some messages across to people. Because you'll be parents one day, I'm sure you're sexually active, I'm sure you all have social lives. So to be aware and to take care of other people is really important. I'm sure when these people who I speak to first see me, they must go into absolute confusion, because it seems to be an innate curiosity in people to try and work out, now, how did this person contract this virus, you know? Actually, my approach is now, well, I'm Helen, I'm HIV positive, I don't have a problem with this. If you do, then I simply haven't got time.
It's not that we've got a problem with it, that's everyone else. You know, I've told my parents and my family, my mother runs around telling everyone I've got cancer. And that hurts me so badly. I believe in protecting my family, like my son's going to school next year, I don't want him to get teased, but it hurts.
Absolutely, I agree.
It hurts, you know?
What's your family, Jane?
I've had a lot of problems with my whole family. We moved around a lot as I was a child, and I seem to think that affected my education. Obviously, I think my abilities are much higher than what I've achieved. But the moving around, I think, has affected a lot of that. And I haven't been very close to my parents at all. I certainly don't think... I look at them and think, well, they're not my parents, they're just people.
For me, perhaps, as a gay person, having a partner in my life is a reason to live.
Yeah.
We all have our own...
My partner gives me a reason to live as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think for anybody, I think that companionship is really...
I grew up in Dandenong in Victoria. We've always been a very close family. I enjoyed growing up in the area we came from. It was, I guess, by comparison to today's living, it was a very simple existence. Probably from about the age of 3, I started having feelings that I was a little bit different. And it took another 19 years to find out what those feelings were. Peter was my partner for 14 years. He was a unique man. He came from a rural background. He was a very sociable man. He had a lot of friends and he loved people around him. We often talked about how we became infected, and when we were first diagnosed, the issue of did one infect the other came up, or if so, who did it to who. But the more we talk about that, the more we'd come to the conclusion we'd never know. You could never come to a conclusion.
How did you actually feel?
For the first 6 months, I thought I was handling it, but I wasn't. So for me, it took about 6 months, and then I had to completely review my life. And at the same time, my partner was dying from AIDS, which took another 18 months after that. Peter, it's interesting, fought for life right to the last minute. His body was wrecked. It couldn't go on any further, but his spirit was as strong as it ever had been. So for him, euthanasia wasn't an option. But there have been a number of people I've seen that have used it, and I think it's been shall we say, an understandable choice. And I'm glad to think that it's possible.
I'm shit scared of dying. Well, I've never thought about death in my life. I'm young. I always thought I was immortal. Never thought I was going to die. And I get this thing when I'm 19 years old, you know. And I just don't want to die. I'm very scared. I just hate the thought.
I'm coping with this a lot better than possibly a 17-year-old would. And I feel very, very sad when I meet young people who have this virus. And I realise that they haven't travelled, that they've never owned real estate or had a business or been part of, one or two really magical relationships or learned to cook or all those things. I mean, I've had 41 years to do an awful lot, and I've done an awful lot.
I want to be cremated, and I want to be kept in a little urn on the mantelpiece at Mum and Dad's. It's morbid, but now I'm terrified about being put in the ground, and just in case you do know what's going on, I'd like to be put in an urn, and they can come and give me a pat and how you going, and just let them know I'm still around, I think.
Being alive is such a fantastic feeling that you actually see it and you feel it. And it makes you angry that other people just don't recognise it.
But some people
Why don't they appreciate
They
life?
prepare for death the moment they're born. They're waiting for death. They're living their life in a religion or a philosophy that prepares them for the life hereafter. I mean, it's our tradition.
In answer to your question, why people don't grab life, I've got a different experience to most of you. I lived all my life with a life-threatening illness.
But life is life-threatening.
Right? Life is life-threatening. Okay, life is life-threatening. But if you add on top of that the fact that you have a problem like haemophilia, where your blood doesn't clot, and you can have lots of internal bleeding and problems, I have almost died 4 times before I even became HIV positive. Now, who needs something like the possibility you're going to die to suddenly make you realise what a wonderful world it is and all these sorts of things? Maybe because when I was younger, with my haemophilia, as I say, 12, I started to understand there were people in life, as you said, Graham, I couldn't understand why they wouldn't grab life. They had the opportunity. They could play cricket, they could play football, they could do these things, but they didn't do it. And you do wonder why. Maybe we should have...
Everybody has that idyllic childhood and that idyllic teenage years.
Not everybody does.
2.4 kids and nice, happy little parents. Not everybody has that experience to grow up to really love it. I grew up hating the very fact that I existed, and I stayed that way until probably 6 or 7 years ago. Oh no, it took me a long time.
What was the turning point?
I was a sexually abused child. Now, it took me a long, long time to get over that. And HIV did for me. It did turn me about and say, well, you know, damn you, I've got to get on with my life now because I was dying, I was told.
I just think
dying,
it's sad
right?
that people have to get become HIV positive to realise that.
Well,
that's happened to me.
No, I think that's human nature.
It might be sad, but that's
what it is.
nature.
Human nature's sad. Sweet way.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that having that death put in front of your face, which is what a diagnosis of HIV is enough for most people to turn around and think, well, do I like where I'm going or don't I?
I agree with that.
I don't think it's the greatest thing that's come along in my life. Possibly because I was already living a pretty miserable life, or a difficult life anyway, not miserable. I was living a difficult life, and I'd been pretty well on top of it. Even though it's a condition, haemophilia is a condition that you can't really control, I'd managed to pretty well, and I felt in charge. With HIV, that just all flew out the window.
Now I contracted HIV. However, that's not a mistake. It's actually been a gift and a learning lesson and a hell of a lesson. And I'm choosing to use it positively instead of curl up and do what a lot of people do and give in.
I hate the disease. I've said before, I hate it. It's with me when I get up in the morning, it's with me when I go to bed tonight. It's always on my mind. And it just makes everything harder for me, but I'm sure I'll overcome it. But every decision I make in life now, I have to think about this disease as well. You know, it might sound a bit over-dramatic, but that's how it is for me. Like even if I got into another relationship now, I don't think I could. It's I couldn't handle telling someone I'm HIV positive because of the rejection.
The 26-year-old woman was on bail granted by the Supreme Court earlier this month. She was carrying her small son when she arrived at the Glenelg court this morning about 3 minutes late.
I was going through the court system and the magistrate in the court said that I couldn't come in the courtroom because I would infect all the staff. And he wanted to hold this court outside. And at that stage, like, I was in the cells and I was looking out at these bars. At that time, it was 85. And there were women who didn't want to see their children anymore because I was in the prison, because they thought if I sat in the visiting room, then their children might get it.
Police officers are also concerned about handling potential carriers.
Here's me on my own trying to, you know, tell people the truth that they couldn't contract it off of me. And nobody would believe me. There wasn't a counsellor. There wasn't one single person I could really talk to. So it was a very lonely period.
Lie, that one. Huh?
Why did you come to dinner?
Why did I come to dinner?
Yes.
I came to dinner because...
For the omelettes.
Because I bought her.
I'll go anywhere with Jim. I don't know. Why did I come to dinner? I came to dinner because I probably felt that I was really sick and tired of AIDS being misrepresented, that HIV is not actually a social or an economic or a socio-economic disease, that HIV is a virus. I see Jim. I see what he goes through. I think I can probably empathise with Paul a fair degree about what he's going through with, you know, trying to portray that we're not diseased. We're not in the days of the bubonic plague. We shouldn't have to worry about going to sleep at night and waking up with a sheep's, you know, crossing sheep's blood being drawn on our door. I mean, and Nicky, I just feel so cheated on behalf of Nicky for what she's going through. I don't know why I came here. I too am in a minority of minorities. I'm a lesbian with HIV. I contracted the virus through using injecting drugs. I'd shared on very few occasions in the past and been quite lucky in the pre-AIDS and HIV time. when HIV and AIDS came, we didn't continue to share very much except for odd occasions. And so I used a needle with someone who I assumed to be quite safe, a lesbian woman who I knew quite well, and I guess at the time I was pretty screwed up with drugs, so I didn't really worry too much or think too much about HIV. I just sort of thought, oh, well, it'll be okay because she's a lesbian, so she'll be right. Only she was HIV positive as well.
Tonight I had a fantastic affirmation as to why I'm here. And it's quite simple. Ian asked me if I was HIV. That's why I'm here. Because people often assume I'm not. And the people I live with in my small community certainly assume I'm not. Well, I want them to know, and I want them to know I've lived amongst them for the last nearly 10 years. And I want them to look around them and think maybe their friends, maybe their partners are positive. They don't have to look emaciated. They don't have to look sick. They could quite well be positive. It's as simple as that. If I could achieve something in being openly positive, it would be to get through to people that I'm just the same. I haven't changed. I was diagnosed HIV 3 years ago and I'm still the same person. And I'm not going to give it to you. And I'd like to be just looked upon as me, just as ordinary old me.
I'm here because I represent haemophiliacs with HIV because I'm a haemophiliac, and that is a double jeopardy situation. I represent people who have acquired HIV medically, and I also am a person who's involved in a heterosexual relationship, and I can only assume that there's going to be more heterosexual couples where HIV will be an issue. And so I'm here to canvass that, discuss problems unique to haemophiliacs. I'm here and I'm happy to talk about it, but unfortunately my wife isn't here because I still feel the prevailing climate, she would be under unnecessary duress. And I think that's a sad indictment of our society.
Probably each of us here at the table, other than yourself, have been discriminated against within our already existing minority by people who have acquired it.
And you don't think
medically.
I've been discriminated against?
I'm sure you have, but if I could just express where this is probably coming from, is as soon as we read an article with a person who's coming out and they say, acquired it medically or haemophilia, whatever, it's like, but I'm a good person, I don't deserve this virus. And I have a problem with that.
All right.
So do
I don't believe that for a moment.
Well,
if that is your view, I don't believe it.
Why is the fact that you're a haemophiliac expressed all the time? Why is it an issue? I'm just saying that's you're generalising with that.
Well, people ask me why.
You're saying we're all diverse.
Okay, you've all acquired it sexually. I didn't.
Well, I didn't.
And I don't give a shit about that.
I didn't know.
All right,
You're making an assumption.
All right, okay, I'm sorry.
Believe me, I did not acquire it sexually. I'm a nurse, you know that I've worked in AIDS. You don't know that I didn't acquire it medically. You're making a f***ing assumption.
Yeah, I am.
The same thing's
all right,
going to happen.
It doesn't matter how you contracted it, but I can tell you, if you are a haemophiliac, you will have more problems with your HIV treatment than if you were not.
Well, you try being a nurse, mate, and
there's
see
no
how
other-
well you go being a haemophiliac, okay? Just because you're a haemophiliac doesn't mean you have more problems. We're not in a competition.
I'm not suggesting that we have more problems.
We've all got
I said
our own
different problems. You are not listening to what I say.
You said...
No, you said more.
You said more, mate.
Oh, I apologise. We have some different problems.
Yeah.
By and large, HIV and haemophilia can be separated. Even as a haemophiliac without AIDS, there are problems.
As a woman without AIDS, there's problems.
Oh, all right. As a black person without AIDS, there are problems.
I suppose we're simply...
You're missing the point, I think.
No,
We're airing here.
I don't think I'm not. I think I've hit it right on the bloody nail.
The best answer, if you're ever asked, how did you get it, is it's absolutely irrelevant. And it is irrelevant. It starts from diagnosis on and how one became positive is absolutely
All right,
irrelevant.
in that case then, if you want to take that attitude...
I do.
Then I would just say, if the question to me is, why are you here tonight? Well, I am here because I do believe in ongoing education. I think that's very important. I am very concerned that young people will be forced into, say, early marriages because that's safer than going out and playing the game, and having a bit of fun.
I felt uncomfortable with the aggression at the table, but I'm part of the group. I'm deciding, should I say something? Should I sit and say nothing? I felt that the issue of how you got it was important with the way that you presented it. Now, you're saying you hadn't meant it that way, and I believe that you didn't mean it that way. But the way it came across to me too, I felt, was that you were discriminating yourself in the way you said it. Now,
If I was a discriminating person, I would not be here.
Yeah. I'm not saying you
I
are.
would not put myself up to this shit.
I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying the way it came across to me. Now, it was my error. But
That was my error.
No.
Because I didn't convey it properly.
How about we
not an
share
error.
it? How about we share it like we've had to share everything else?
Talked about our fears, our fears for the future because of HIV, not because we're haemophilics, not because we're women, not because we're injecting drug users, not because we're gay men, but fears for the future because of HIV.
I wasn't trying to suggest that our fears would be different. I was only trying to
But we can
explain that there are certain medical problems that arise for haemophiliacs because of their haemophilia, which interferes with their HIV treatment.
And I have no doubt that there are.
Therefore,
and I
they
totally
have
support
a special
that.
medical need, just as other people may have special medical needs or other people may have special emotional needs.
It's the first time I've ever heard it presented that way. It's
Okay.
always in articles and, but I don't deserve this virus because it was medically acquired.
No, I don't give...
No, Helen's not having a shot at you.
The media. Not
I know
at you.
she's not an
But
angel.
it's
You
probably the
presented it
media.
exactly the way I think you originally wanted to then. But I think other people who've acquired it medically may present it your initial way first, not realising that it's coming across with a bias.
I think we've just taught ourselves one of the lessons we want to put across too, that we are all different. And we create stigmas, we create judgments or past judgments on people. And that's what one of the biggest problems surrounding AIDS, HIV is this whole stigma that other people's opinions. And we all have different needs in our lives, and we are all so different, totally different. I'm different.
The words seem, even though they shouldn't be, the words seem to matter so much. Or people pick up the wrong message, don't they?
Yeah.
I agree with Paul, and if I'm asked why I'm here tonight, one of the reasons is because I abhor the sort of homophobia, the sort of irrational thought that goes on with this debate.
And sadly, it occurs within.
And I can see it impacting on heterosexual couples in the future as much as it's
And
impacted.
heterosexual and
So does that
homosexual
make us
couples
sadder?
with haemophilia.
No, it doesn't make me sad. I'm sad because I'm sad.
It's on anyone. That discrimination, I mean, I don't think...
But I'm here because I want to warn heterosexuals out there. They can expect to live, have to experience all the things that you guys have been through.
Nobody went out and asked for this disease. And this disease does not discriminate. The disease attacks whatever it wants. And it made me very uncomfortable when Ian got upset after our conversation, and it upset me that somebody can be still in that much pain.
I mean, you expect to go to dinner parties and have discussions about things, and if it's going to be a sensitive, emotive topic, and certainly one where you are personally involved, then I expect some sort of heated discussion at times, and I don't think that's bad. I'm sorry that people who've acquired it sexually have they have these feelings or have had them rubbed in their face in the past.
I have met some wonderful people through my association with HIV-positive people, and I wouldn't change it for all the world, though they might. They've taught me enormous things, and I really would like to thank each and every one of you very much. And I hope I'll see you again in the future very soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think all HIV-positive people are beautiful.
Oh, I don't. I hate some of them.
They'd be arseholes without HIV and they're arseholes with it.
That's a good point.
I am frustrated. I hate it. I just hate everything about it, and I hate what it's doing to all of us. It's wrong, and something's got to be done about it, and I suppose we've got to make that happen too.
Good on you.
You're doing
Yes.
it now.
But I just hate it. I want it to go away. Don't like it.
I can wish with you.
Life is like a roller coaster. You have highs and you have lows, and you have moments, and without contrast, you don't have those moments. You don't have special moments like this if you never extend yourself and allow them to happen.
There's one more angel in heaven. There's one more star in the sky. Joseph can think that used to far.
I can go on working as long as I keep dreaming. If I get sick, I deal with it, and I'll have to reassess my life when and if that happens. And it's realistically, it can happen. I can get extremely sick very fast.
I don't know what I want out of life anymore. Relationships always come to mind, but I don't know. I'd like to feel normal again. Yes, that's my ambition. I want to be normal again, or feel normal at least, you know. Yeah, it's my ambition.
My wife and I, in the future, would like to have a family, and that's something that we'll work towards. And my biggest ambition is to have that child and then be able to have a conversation with it. And so that means I've got to live for at least another 7 or 8 years.
I don't think about when I'm going to die. I just think when I do die, I'll be able to sort of say, I did it all, or I did as much as I could, and it was a great life.
Has anyone heard any good HIV jokes?
The only thing I've seen is a fabulous T-shirt in London. It said, printed across, I have AIDS, what have you got?
The other one actually on that I really like was a friend of mine, Scotty, who came back to Cairns with the family tree stops here.
Well, my T-shirt says I can't even think straight.
I saw one at the AIDS Council that read, "That's Mr. Faggot to you."
I still think one of the best is a Beck's, a cup of tea and a good lie down is no longer enough.
There's a wonderful feeling around this table, and there are people here that are doing this for the first time. I think the support we can give each other, particularly if we've had experience, there's great strength in it.
Well, I'd like to stake a claim for dignity. I think dignity in health and dignity in the later stages, if and when.
I'd like to say that HIV to me is something I hope we one day look back on as a bad memory, and we don't have to light a candle to remember somebody's life that's passed on through this illness. And I'd also like to raise a toast to you. Here's to now as there is no always. Cheers.
Raise our glasses to that.
It's been a wonderful experience.
Thank you.